And they will all reach into their pocket and give me some money. So I'm a little forward. How's that sound? But no, it's a. Do I have another question for you? Oh, do you?
She was asking me if I remembered that, and I said, yes, I do.
Did you put your games? Oh, yeah, they were very nice. Most of them gave me $20 each.
And we all reached into our pockets and said, yeah, fine.
Yeah, absolutely. See, all you need to do is ask.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
It sounds like you loved your first job so much in New York. Why did you quit?
What I did in San Antonio, it was utterly boring. That's my problem. I don't like being bored. I don't like having to sit and read a book for a whole week and not do anything. It just was driving me crazy. And I said to my husband, finally, I said, if I stay here one more day, I'm not going to have a brain left in my head. And so I said, either we leave or I leave. I was ready. I said, I'll go back to New York. I can get my job back with the lawyer I work for. And he would take me back with open arms. But he said, okay, all right, because he liked what he was doing. And so then he started looking. We knew the man who he was the publisher of the Trusted Estates magazine that you used to get in your trust departments and in the banks and places. And so they always had ads in there for people wanted, employees wanted, and there was one for Santa Barbara. Neither of us knew anything about Santa Barbara. So he came here for an interview. And when he came back, I said, what was it like? He said, well, it's Spanish. And I went, oh, no. Oh, that's all I had in San Antonio was all the Spanish stuff. And not that I didn't like these people. It was just over, Anyway, he says, no. He said, there's an I-Magnon there. You'll like that. We don't have that anymore either. Lou Rose. And this is Lou Rose. I mean, you know how long ago that was. I still have some of his clothes and I wear them. One woman asked me where I got my jacket. And I said, well, about 20 years ago at Lou Rose. So I keep wearing the same clothes that I bought there. It never goes out of style. And it's always been, it was did you ever enjoy Lou Rose? Were you here then?
Yes.
Well, you did. It was a wonderful store to go into. And the help was always helpful. Well, and the sales. Lou Rose said one day to me, he said, you're the best dressed woman in town who buys all her clothes on sale. But that's all girly stories. There's a young man over there smiling. Anybody else have any questions for me about the associates? Yes?
Do you ever have any events for like women only?
I'm sorry, I have hard of hearing. So
do you ever have any events for women only, or what kind of events do they do?
Do we ever have any events that we have?
For women only. For women.
For only
Events
women.
For women only.
Oh, for women only, yes. Oh, yes.
What were they like?
Yeah, no, our group is still all women. There's no men in it. And we have parties of our own. And I think there's one coming up. And
Or at the university level?
yeah, no, and usually we have it here, you know, in the associates room. And that room was all for us at that time. And then we just kept merging in, and then now everybody goes in and out of that. But even if Santa Barbara Associates has a meeting, then they always book it for us so that we have it every month. They have the room to have a meeting.
What
So
about,
they treat us very nicely here. You know, it's a nice club. I was trying to talk to someone today about joining, and I met a man who has a top job at Decker's out here, you know, and he and his wife took me to lunch. We were at Crocodile, and we had 2 hours. And then they came up to my house because they were talking about taking their lawns out. And I said, well, part of my house, I've already taken the lawn out, and it's all beautifully done and succulents. And the gardener did a beautiful job. He did it in sections, And then he's got pathways around it with those round circular cement aggregate things, and then gravel along the edges of it and rocks along it. It's a beautiful thing. Anyway, so they came back to see that. And I wrote a letter to thank them, and I apologized because I'd taken so long to acknowledge the fact that they were so nice to take me to lunch. And he said, there was no question about it, no problem about it. And he then went on to talk about he liked my house. He says, but your cat doesn't like me. He says, I tried to pet her and she swatted me. She doesn't have her nails out. She just did like, don't touch me. No, I've been trying to get him to come. He is the most charming man. He's probably early 40s, I would guess, and just an absolutely lovely man. He's a member of the board of the Historical Museum. That's how I met him. And what a delightful man. And I'm trying to get him in here because
Should be here.
he's good, and he would be a nice member.
Good.
Ask Lynn, how about Greco being a member here?
Possibly, I bet he would be, yeah.
Yeah, you and I can talk him into it, right?
Do that, yeah.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Eleanor, did you say that the associates do investments and then there's no dues?
Pardon me?
Did you say that the associates
Yes.
do investments and
Yes,
then they have no dues?
they have no dues.
They invest their money,
Yes.
pool in?
Everybody, put in the money, the original 200 that each one put in was invested. And it's still there, and it's growing, and it's with a relatively safe fund. And no, it's we have people who accountants who watch it and tell us, if things are okay.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's like absolutely
Well, every once in a while. Now I'm going to sound, I have to tell you, the thing that bothers me about women is that they see a bunch of money and they figure, how are we going to spend it? And I keep saying, you're living off the interest, You're living off the interest, and there's a story about that, a joke. And this I heard from somebody else. It was about these two guys in the Wall Street area. They come walking out to go to lunch. And they pass a girl who's obviously soliciting on the corner. And so they get past her, and he says, well, isn't that Mary? Oh, that can't be Mary. And he says, well, let's walk around the block and look again. So they come around, and they said, Mary, what are you doing? She said, well, they said you have a trust fund. She said, my father says you never invade the principal. And she can tell us gone down, so I have to earn a living. So there's even in something like that, there's a joke to be had, anybody else?
Eleanor,
Any
Eleanor.
questions?
Over here.
Eleanor, if anybody's interested in finding out more about the associates, we have Denise Lockhart here, who is on the membership.
Okay,
the membership
yes,
chair.
yes,
She'd be
yes.
happy to talk to anybody who's
Yeah.
interested.
I'd like to join it.
We can have some
bylaws
We have a good time.
I have a question.
Sure. I'm sorry, I'm hard of hearing.
That's okay, I'll try to speak up. As a fairly new member and a professional woman, I'm always talking to other professional women about joining the club. And typically what they say to me is, what is that place? And when I invite people here, they're trying to figure out how it resonates with them and how they can feel connected. So I'm listening to you speak, and first of all, I want to have lunch with you.
Absolutely.
And I hear about all this history, and I feel like there's so much there.
It can be a very active group. It would be delightful.
But I don't know, I guess, for somebody like me in my mid-40s with kids and rushing around all the time, what I could say to other women like me to say, you need to be a part of this. I hear you speak, and I think there's lots of women just like me, younger, older, that really want to hear what you have to say about your experience, and I don't know how to create that. because my generation is so insular, and we're just trying to get by and raise our kids and go to
Absolutely,
work.
yeah.
But we need you, and I just don't know how to create that, and I think there's a tremendous need. And so I would love to talk to you about that, because I think women would flock here, and people would flock here who are looking for that experience. And I'm so grateful for what
Well,
you've had to say.
Well, we would love to connect with you
Give-
and welcome you
Give
to
them the
Great.
info-
come to
Yeah,
the
I never knew
information.
about the Santa Barbara
periodically, so
Associates.
we'll
That's lovely, thank
Yeah.
you.
let me get your
Thank
card.
you.
Yeah.
Okay,
And you can come to those meetings
yeah.
and then bring in other people. I mean, that's, actually, when I started, I had over, at least it was 90 or over 100 women here when we started getting people interested, and we had cocktails for them and stuff. And so that grew into the associates from that, because I brought the same program to them about crossbreeding, if you would.
Yeah.
But you could see that women were kind of shut off to the corners. And I said, as an example, when I was working at the law firm, I had a young woman who was absolutely brilliant. She came in, she was a college graduate, and she came in as a gopher. And then she was doing some filing and stuff like that, nothing exciting. And one of the lawyer's secretary left, and he said, find me a new secretary. And I said, well, what about this girl? He says, well, she's no secretary. I said, anybody can be a secretary. I said, she's brilliant. You need the brains. And it ended up that she was doing his corporate work, where he was actually creating new corporations. She even created one in Hong Kong. I mean, this is a brilliant young woman. And so, then she came to me one day and said to me, my job is coming up for review on salary. I said, well, let me tell you what to do. I said, you go back to your desk and you go through your timesheets and you list every corporation you have formed in the last year or two, and give that to him before he goes to the board meeting, because he's never going to remember what you did. But if you remind him, he will acknowledge it. He'll, it's reasonable. So after the meeting, and she saw me, she came in and she went, I got a good raise. But, you have to put yourself in the other person's place. He's not keeping track of what you're doing. I mean, it's not something that, it is something that he's dealing with the guts of the thing, not the paperwork of it. And so to get her involved, to get she to do all the paperwork and get it ready for them and stuff like that. But that it's like almost treating it like an automatic machine, that you're churning all out of, and in those days you did 10 carbon copies. But it was a thing that the men recognize that you do a good job, but they don't classify it down when it comes to considering a raise in pay.
Yeah.
Because you have to remind them of all the things you've done.
Yeah.
I work against the big shots. But it's the only way you can get ahead is, demonstrate that you're able to do what you do. It can be very rewarding. Yes.
Do you have any contact with these men in high places at your age?
Well, considering the fact that, as an example, I never got paid overtime. Most every week I worked 60 hours. Yeah, lawyers didn't pay overtime. And one weekend, they had a client coming in on Monday, so the person who was going to do the paperwork was sick, so I got the job. And I worked the whole entire weekend setting up 5 new corporations. That was the Articles of Incorporation,